everyone, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and I'm back today with another installment of a finished jewelry update for the month of February 2021. So this is, of course, where I show you all what I have done with some of the materials that have rolled in recently in bead boxes and from other companies that I have shared. If you're new here, I want to give you a warm welcome. I am so glad to have you. This is something I do on a monthly basis in addition to unboxing bead boxes and showing you all materials and also doing tutorials. I come back and hope that this type of video provides you with some inspiration or some ideas in your jewelry making, especially if we've gotten some similar products. So today, as you can see, I'll be sharing with you some brand new faux leather earrings. I'll get into those in just a moment. I also have some pieces that I made from the contents of February's bargain bead box. I also have a few other bead weaving pieces that I have worked on and some items from recent tutorials that weren't made in order for me to share last month. So join me as I share these new pieces with you, tell you a little bit about the background of them and how I came up with the designs and created the pieces. Before we get into it, I'm excited to announce this video is sponsored by Skillshare. If you haven't heard of them, Skillshare is an online learning community for creative individuals. They offer thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including graphic design, productivity, arts and crafts, and so much more. This month I discovered a class which I found particularly interesting called DIY Product Photography Tips for Handmade Business Owners. It provides you with helpful tips on things like choosing a setting, finding photo editing software, and how to use it effectively. And this is just one example of a huge number of classes they have available. What a great time it is to learn new skills, keep your mind active with practical ideas. Now, normally their service is a little less than $10 a month, but because Skillshare is sponsoring today's video, the first 1,000 people to click on the link in my description will get a free trial to Skillshare Premium. So take advantage of their thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects and feedback. Just click on the personalized link below the video to sign up and try it out with no obligation. Alright, so as you already took a peek, you can see there's a cluster of like 7 different types of these faux leather earrings. I actually made a bunch of different styles, but I'm going to do a different video for that where I show you just the different styles of faux leather jewelry or earrings that I've made from the faux leather that I recently shared that I had gotten from BB Craft. These are really quick and easy to make, and I'm going to have a free pattern available that you can download with the template so you can cut out your own pieces if you want, and I'll do a separate tutorial to show these being put together. And there's just so much you can do with the faux leather. These happen to be one of my favorite designs. This gold and navy combination is the first one that I actually made. And as you can see, it's just a matter of taking 2 different little pieces of this faux leather material, stacking them together. I cut slits in this bottom piece to make a little fringe, and I attached these to the open triangle link findings from BB Craft as well. They do slide a little bit, but this one being the first one, I didn't place the holes as far apart as I did the other ones, so that helps. And then, of course, gravity is your friend with these earrings because when you're wearing them, they'll just be hanging down. So as I recently shared the pack that I had gotten from BB Craft, there were some wild patterns and glitters and really bright, even like iridescent and these sequin type sheets. But when you use them in such a tiny way, especially in earrings like this, it makes those really wild and crazy ones a little bit more wearable and fun. I just like the sequins and the glitters, especially paired with some of these other more basic pieces of the faux leather. Another benefit is that it's very lightweight, super lightweight compared to something like beads, and it was just a different type of project that I thought would be fun to share. I did hand cut all of these pieces myself, but some of you may actually have a Cricut machine or something that you can actually have cut the pieces of leather precisely if you want. So be on the lookout for that if I hadn't already posted the tutorial for it. I'm not sure if it'll be posted right before or right after this video gets shared. Next, why don't I get into the pieces that I made from the contents of this month's bargain bead box. All right, so here's a closer look at the first set that I made with the contents. The theme this month was called Spring Rain. It was absolutely beautiful with the antique copper findings and lots of aquas, turquoise, and teals. It was a really beautiful combination to work with. If you haven't seen that video, I will try to link that in the corner. I highly recommend that subscription. It's just such an amazing value, and I even had a ton of things left over after making the pieces I'll share today. So they included, of course, this chandelier component. I decided to turn that into a pendant. I did some wire wrapping with some of the beads, these little glass rondelles, and the antique copper spacers. And I also used the antique copper metallic dagger type beads at the bottom of the fringe. This bail was actually something I got from a Potomac beads box, and I decided to use that in conjunction with this piece here. That happened to work out really well to have that antique copper bail. You can see in the center here I have a little Amazonite round that was included in the contents of the box too, all of these beads. Also some of these little bead caps. There's some more spacers, some more glass beads, and then let me show you the rest of the necklace off of the display. All right, so here's a view that shows the back of the necklace. You can see I used the two connectors that they sent as well. They're so beautiful. And I also used some of the chain that they included, added a lobster clasp and an extender piece of chain of my own, and then added one of these little coordinating dagger drop beads to the end of that to embellish the end. I wanted to have a couple other daggers to use on either side of these earrings, but unfortunately I used all that I had. So I incorporated two of the small drops that they included from the box on either side of that, and I think it came out just fine considering the fact that I didn't have any more of these daggers to use. These earring findings, of course, came in the box as well. We had lots of chandelier style findings this month. And then I just popped on two lever back style earring findings that I had from my stash. So all in all, just a ton of things from the actual contents of the box itself, and just a few additions from my personal stash. Next, I made this necklace, which is a knotted necklace that I used some Chinese silk knotting cord with all the way around the beaded portion. And then, of course, the star of the show is this front section of the necklace where I have these pieces hanging down from a toggle clasp that will actually go on the front and be incorporated in more of a pendant style. Here's a closer look at some beading that I did to create bead caps on top of these spike agate pieces. They had a hole going through the top, and included in the box was a set of 5. So I took 2 of them that I wanted to use for this purpose and used some 11-0 delicas as well as some 15-0 seed beads in all different colors, and just did my own thing with the striping pattern and attached a wire guard at the top of both of those pieces so I could attach them to the chain on this necklace and put them at 2 different heights. One is hanging a little bit lower than the other. This is something totally new that I haven't done before, creating a little bead cap on top of a stone pendant piece like this. So I was pretty excited at how it came out and thought it'd be something neat to share that you all haven't seen me do. The way I began the bead caps was I created a loop of these copper delicas all the way around to fit the size of one of these stones. And I made sure that they were also attached to the hole that goes through the center of the stone. It's kind of hard to explain now that they're done, but these bead caps are not going anywhere. They are actually very, very secure onto these stone pieces. And once I had that initial ring started, I just went around in a peyote stitch style beading fashion to build up the top and the bottom, gradually getting smaller on the top and the bottom with 15-0 seed beads to kind of cinch those up around the stone pendants. This is also a piece where I incorporated these glass leaf beads. Sometimes these can be a challenge for some people to work with, not really knowing what to do. So this was also a different way that I incorporated those leaf style beads this time. I had used them on the bottom of chandelier earrings before. I had done a charm style bracelet with them before. So I wanted to do something different, and I thought they really looked pretty, kind of staggered around the front of this knotted necklace and also hanging down over top of this focal area. And here's a look at the full necklace off of the display. You can see just a simple knotting. I did a knot in between each of these beads The beads that I used for my stash are these. They're like a dyed jade larger round. And the reason I brought those in was because I wanted some more of a color that would match these particular stones. Had a lot of the green and turquoise and teal kind of colors in the strand of beads here from the beads that they included in the box, like the dyed quartz and these glass druzy style beads, and then those little seafoam green kind of seed bead drop style beads. But I've had these forever, so I wanted to incorporate those. I thought the colors worked really well together. And then as you can see, I did 3 of these leaves on either side. These two are a little closer together. That one's a little further apart. And there's the toggle on either side, the loop on one side, and then the bar on the other. That easily goes together just like that. And overall, this has a really great drapey feel. And I wanted to mention too, because I didn't already, that any of the pieces I'm sharing today, feel free to check my website. In my shop, I usually have a lot of these pieces listed right after the video, but if there's something you don't see, feel free to contact me. It's possible I don't have it listed yet, or it's possible I could make another one. While I have this piece here with the delicas, let me just show you this next pair of fringe earrings that I made. And here is the first one in the set. So with this, I used the delicas, like the same copper and teal colors that I had from my stash that I used in the peyote around the beaded pendant down there. And then I also incorporated those really tiny apatite gemstone beads into the fringe, as well as the drops. I used those on the bottom, and this other chandelier finding that they included. So I love how these came out, absolutely love them. And I will say that these apatite, like some of you mentioned, they are very soft in terms of the scale of hardness of minerals and things. So there were a lot of them that ended up cracking or breaking, which was kind of frustrating and sad. I had to redo a few of these strands as I was working because that happened while I was passing through the beads and whatnot. But this one's good. I do have the other earring from the set, but it has a couple little mistakes in there, so I actually need to redo it. And I was considering maybe doing a tutorial for this pair of earrings if there's interest in that. And that way I can just make that one again and film the tutorial at the same time. All right, so I have one other necklace and earring set to share from the bargain bead box. All right, so this is a 2-strand necklace that includes that beautiful faceted teal quartz pendant, and I did just some light wire wrapping around that in order to attach that to a length of chain. I decided to make that just a little bit longer than the top strand. That also has some of that gorgeous teal color dyed quartz that brings in some more of that similar color. I also went with a lot of drops in this design because I figured this pendant was in that drop shape. We had these briolette crystal drops as well as those little tiny antique copper drops, and the toggle clasp included drop-shaped loops. So instead of using these for toggle clasp, I just used the loop portion as connectors, as I've done a lot, and attached the 2 strands to those and just 1 strand of chain along the back. You can see I also included a lot of the bead caps and just a couple of the antique copper spacer beads on either side. I also made these coordinating earrings with some of the beads that are found in the necklace, as well as some of the chain. Just used some wire from my stash, but added these different strands dangling down off of the chandelier earring component that they included in the box too. There were 4 of those altogether. And here's a look at the necklace off of the display. You can see the other side there of the teardrop loop from the toggle clasp. And I just finished it off with a lobster clasp and a piece of extender chain and 1 more of those little drops there on the end. A few other little bead weaving items to show you. I had shared these bracelets in a recent tutorial, so you can find out how to make those by going back a few videos. This is the netted bicone and herringbone bracelet, and as you can see, I used bicones, 4mm Swarovski in both of these, so they're super sparkly, and 2 different colors of delica beads, as well as some size 15 seed beads to frame those bicones. So here's a close look at that. I just love the Swarovski bicones. That combination is so beautiful. And then just did something different by layering the copper and the turquoise color delicas and doing those in a striped way. Thought that added a little bit of interesting detail to this netting and combined two basic bead weaving stitches, netting and herringbone together. Another tutorial I shared recently was for this crystal cube tennis bracelet, and I had done a tennis bracelet tutorial a couple years ago with 4mm cubes, and this is the version that is really totally different, and it's using 6mm cubes. So it starts out a totally different way. Instead of ladder stitch at the bottom, it's a right angle weave using some larger 8/0 seed beads down there in combination with 11/0 seed beads, and then I just alternated the colors a little bit in a fun way. So this is another one of those tutorials that you can find if you just go a couple videos back. It's a pretty easy design to make, and these bracelets are just so fluid. They move really well the way they're put together, and it's a great way to use these 6mm crystal cubes if you have some of those hanging out in your stash and you're not sure what to do with them. I also made a few more even count peyote rings. I've been playing around with using a spreadsheet in order to create the templates for some new ring designs, and it had been working out pretty good. So these are three that I came up with. The top one, kind of that houndstooth pattern, the black and white, and I added some tiny little 15/0 Charlottes around the edges. And then the next one is just another interesting pattern with two different colors of purple layered together, has kind of a braided or woven look. And then the one at the bottom, like a red and burgundy and purple plaid with some black and white. So if you'd like to know how to make the peyote stitch rings, I do have a few tutorials for peyote stitch rings. Not specifically these patterns, although I'd like to offer these as some free downloads, and that's why I am playing around with different patterns and things. But if you'd like to start with the even count peyote stitch, I would say definitely look for that modern striped ring. It's a great project to get you started and to get you more comfortable with creating a small peyote stitch project. And then two other items I made were a couple of these Russian spiral rope necklaces. I'd shared a couple of these, I guess, 2 months back, maybe in some other colorways. And then these are two other colorways that I hadn't shared, where I used 3mm fire polish beads and 11/0 seed beads to put these together. I don't have a tutorial for this particular design, but I know there's lots of tutorials out there if you just look for Russian spiral beading tutorials. Some of you asked me to do one, so I may do one down the road. In the meantime, look for Jill Wiseman's. Also, I think Potomac Beads has one. I believe there's a lot of them out there. So this is a version that I've done using not just 3 different colors of fire polish in these designs, but I actually, with each of these stripes, have a combination of different beads. For example, with this stripe, it's not only translucent aqua, it's also some that may have like a different finish on it. Reason being is I didn't have enough of all the same colors to do full necklaces, so I made my own mixes from the fire polish beads and used a different mix for each stripe, if that makes sense. And then I just finished them off with some lobster clasp and a little extender chain. There's a little starfish bead I found in my bead soup box to finish that one up, and found a sort of golden or topaz colored drop in my bead soup box to add to the back of this one. I don't have the Russian spiral tutorial for these beads, but I do have a Russian spiral tutorial for a design using bugle beads and seed beads that I did not too long ago, and that will show you pretty much how you create these necklaces in the same type of manner, just using different beads. All right, everyone, that's all I have for today's finished jewelry update. I hope you enjoyed checking out what I've been up to, and maybe it provided you with a little bit of inspiration or something to think about that maybe you hadn't thought about before, that inspires you to create something in a new way. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you've been up to, or let me know if you have a favorite item here or anything else you'd like to say. You all are truly amazing, and I am so glad to have you with me. You keep me motivated to keep creating, and I love seeing what you all are up to as well. So a huge thank you to you all for being here, and also a big thank you to Skillshare as well for sponsoring today's video. That helps out my channel so much. Don't forget, you can check out the link right below the video if you'd like to try out their premium membership free of charge. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it, and feel free to hit that subscribe button while you're there too, because I'd love to have you back for future videos. Don't forget you can check out my website where I have a shop and blog. You can check out patterns that you can download, as well as some of these pieces you can purchase if you'd like. I'll be back again real soon, but in the meantime, I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.